we are about to go live, and then we shall have to kick off with presentation. Greetings, everyone. I would like to convey my deepest appreciation to you all for turning up today. Hope Malinga, Pop Youth Mentor, who will be moderating today's presentations from different participants of the Pop African Festival 2022, a Pop Global Climate Crusade. We will have presentations from Dr. Ngozi Osadebe from Nigeria, Dr. Chiemeze Atama from Nigeria, Alimany James Bangura from Sierra Leone, who is here to join us, Akangelo Kenye Gabriel from South Sudan, and Bayanga Denzo from Cameroon. So I would like to yield the floor to Dr. Osadebe Ngozi from Nigeria without wasting time to give her presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Please, I would like to share my screen.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. The host disabled participants from sharing screen. Can you enable me?
Let me make you a host.
Okay.
Come on. Make Dr. Ngozi first. Can you become host so I can go with someone else?
Do I start?
I'm working on making your co-host so that you can share the screen.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah, you can now share your screen.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. My organization. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you. Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So my organization, we are Literacy for Sustainable Living Nigeria. It's an intergenerational NGO made up of adults, teenagers, and children. So we had two activities, one on the 20th of June and the other on the 23rd. Let me start with that of 20th, which is a focus group discussion with children on how children contribute to the plastic, how children contribute to plastics in the environment. Okay, this was held on the 20th of June, 2022. There were about 27 children in the discussion, and we looked at the sources of plastic in the environment as it concerns children. How do children contribute to plastics in the environment? So we discovered that, okay, sources of plastics in the environment. And we look at the wraps of items that we bought from the market. From the market, some items are already wrapped in nylon. And then the seller will still put it in nylon. Then containers of beverages we eat, beverages we buy, also many of them come in plastics. And then there are plastics that are part of household items. From there, we looked at how children contribute to the plastic in the environment. Then we identified one, the snacks the children take to school. Many of them are wrapped in plastics. And after eating these snacks, the children can throw them anyhow. And the wraps of this plastic, these wraps might be biscuits, sweets, or chewing gum wraps used as snacks at school. Then all these beverages children drink too. Indiscriminate disposal of containers of these beverages also litter the environment as plastics. Then some children do hair. They use attachments and they put beads to decorate themselves. When not well disposed, all this boils down to plastic in the environment. Then there are children, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that menstruate. The parts they use are also plastic. So you find out that these are children. They also contribute to the plastics that litter our environment. That's what we discovered from our studies. Then we try to look at the effects of plastic in the environment from the eyes of the children. We discovered that the plastics litter our environment. If we look at the picture before us, we can see litters of plastic dotted here and there in this compound. Then this plastic can as well block drainage systems. And when the drainage systems are blocked, the floods can go on the main roads and they can carry children. Yes, it can drown children. Then another one is that some plastics, when not well disposed, becomes a breeding ground for mosquitoes. And mosquitoes bite children and even adults, and then can cause health issues such as malaria. So we look also, after looking at the effects of the plastic in our immediate environment, we looked at it in the soil where we plant our crops. So we discovered that plastics, when in the soil, it prevents water from going into the soil. It also prevents air from entering the soil. And when water and air cannot enter the soil, the crops cannot grow well. If the crops cannot grow well, there will be poor yield and poor economic output for the farmer. Then there are organisms that live in the soil. At least all of us, the children, they all know of earthworms. We said that these plastics can suffocate earthworms. If air cannot go into the soil and water, the earthworms might die off. Then we looked at the effects of plastic in the sea. Just like we said that plastic suffocates organisms living in the soil, we also identified plastics as suffocating fishes and the other sea animals. We also discovered that because plastics can decay when in the sea, or they don't decay at all, instead they disintegrate into tiny, tiny particles. And then the fishes in the sea will eat these plastics. They seep into the bodies of the fish, and we humans, we eat them. And when we eat them, the plastic enter into our bodies and can cause diseases, such as cancer, according to one of the girls in the discussion group. So having looked at the impact of plastic in our immediate environment, the sea and the soil, we decided to take a decision on how we as children can minimize plastics in our environment. But because before we did that, we introduced a book on environment. The book was titled Decision. This book, we got it from africanstorybooks.org. As we can see, it is written by Usuala Nafula and Vusi Malinda. The book talked about a town where there was a climate issue. the seas dried up, the streams dried up, the taps cannot flow, and the farmers cannot go to farm because of drought. Because of it, there was a real economic hardship, and children cannot go to school because their parents can't afford to pay. So the people in the community, one man called the meeting, and people in the community took a decision. In the decision, they decided to dig wells. The children decided to pick up dirt and plastic lying here and there in the community. The people decided to become vegetarians to reduce climate effect on them. And then when they have taken all the decisions they mentioned and implemented them, the effect of climate change on their community was reduced drastically. So after reading the story of the people in this community, in the novel title decision, the children now took their own decisions of what they will do to reduce the effect of plastic pollution in their environment. So the children decided that all plastic wraps they use, they should put it into the waste bin and burn them at the end. They also decided that they should do what they call waste separation, so that in the home, they don't need to put in materials that can decay and those that cannot decay into the same waste bin. Then all the materials that can decay that are in the waste bin, they said they should pour it into the garden so that it will help the crops to grow well. And then burn all the ones that cannot decay. They said also they will minimize purchase of goods that are in plastic containers. And they will try to reject gifts people give them that are in plastic containers. They say from now onwards, they will look out for gifts and snacks that are wrapped with papers. Then the other ones among them said they will learn how to make and use clothing materials for sanitary pads. And then there was a final decision, which I believe God helping us, we will be able to implement. The children said that from that day onwards, we will be having a monthly cleanup in the university community where we live. And then because we were just about 27 in the group, the children said they will go out and invite their friends to join us and tell people in school, in their schools, to join us too. We said, if possible, that we have the International Literacy Day, which comes up every September 8th. We will use it to talk about plastic pollution in our environment and invite other children to join so that we will all learn and put our hands together to make our environment a better place for us. That is the end of the discussion we had on September 20 with children. Then on September 23, there was another discussion with a different set of people, librarians. Let me share my screen again. Yeah. On June 23rd, there was another discussion with librarians. If we look at the screen, we can see it is a library. A library is a place where information materials are kept. And there are many of them in many libraries, especially in the university library where I work and in the community where I live. And these materials contain so many issues. We know in Africa, we don't have that habit. We don't have much of a good reading culture, which means if people don't go to read these books, they will just lie idle in the library. And they contain information that will help us in this climate issue. So we had a discussion with 3 librarians, one from the academic library. Academic library is libraries serving university students or students in the tertiary institution. We had one with a librarian in the library of the blind, library where people with disabilities visit. And then we had another one with librarian in a public library. The topic was how they make the information materials available in their library, how they draw attention of users to the information materials in their library as it concerns climate change. So the first of the discussion was held with the librarian in the climate change library at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Mrs. Sewa. So one of the questions asked at that discussion was, what category of people visit the library to use the materials on climate change? And she said that various groups of people visit the library to use these materials. Among them are students that are in the various branches of agriculture and geography. Others are researchers interested in climate change. And then there are people who are curious about climate change that come to ask questions. Climate change issue concerns everybody. It is not just these 3 categories of people. Does it mean that information contained in these books are not used by other people? Now, if they are not used, how do you attract people's attention to these materials? Let's see what her responses were. And then she said that to make other people that don't come to the library to use these materials, to get their interest in the library, especially students, that she summarizes the content of books and then send it to students through their emails contained in PRO office. PRO is the Public Relations Officer Office of the university. Then she says she organizes seminars to get students interested in climate change information and climate change issues. She says she collaborates with agencies such as the World Health Organization and the World Bank to organize seminars for students, and that the library partakes in International Day celebration to attract students' attention, such as World Cleanup Day and the World Environmental Day. So we asked her, are there problems that you encounter in doing this? And she said there are many of them. Among them is lack of capital, lack of money, lack of funds to acquire new publications on climate change. Then another issue she raised was that in the library, in the climate change library, that they do not learn materials, that it is only a read-only library, which means that if there are materials that people need, they cannot take them home to read. Okay, it is a read-only material, and then the space in the library is too small to contain many readers. She said there are just about 20 reading spaces for all the readers in the school, which we know is too small. And coupled with this, she said that the library lacks printers and photocopying machines, which people would have used to take portions of the materials they read home. Then we asked her about how do you think that that this situation in the library can be improved. She mentioned many things. Among them is that a more spacious place should be gotten, photocopiers should be procured, scanners should be procured, so that people will be able to scan or photocopy some portions of the book and take them home. That is as it concerns the climate change library and its use. Then coming to the public library, the librarian and the public library say that the area we are operating from Nsukka. Of course, you know, University of Nigeria is at is in Nsukka town. So there is a public library to cover the Nsukka educational zone of Enugu State, Nigeria. And Nsukka, by nature, is a rural community. Apart from the university that is situated there, there is no other form of calling it a cosmopolitan city. Apart from the university, it's a rural area. So the public library, by its location, is serving rural people, and these people are farmers. So we asked the librarian, how do you get climate change information to farmers? And rural farmers in Nigeria, as we know them, many of them are not educated. So they can walk into the library to read. And climate change is affecting people in different ways. It affects farmers. So let's look at the questions we put forth to her on the screen. So we asked, what type of climate change information are required by local communities in Nsukka educational zone? And how do you disseminate the information? So she said that people of Nsukka educational zone are mainly farmers. As such, they require information on how climate change affects their health as human beings, as well as how it affects their crops. And she said that they give climate change information to these people by visiting the communities during their village meetings, and they also visit them in the farms. She said they adapt climate change information to a format an illiterate farmer can understand it. For instance, they can turn it into songs in local dialects. They can turn it concerts and ask children to play the concerts during village meetings. And then from time to time, they organize seminars in local or pidgin English for the farmers. Then we asked her, what problem do you encounter in sending this climate change information to local communities in Nsukka educational zone? Number one thing that she mentioned was superstitious belief. She said that people, rural farmers, believe that the poor farm yield, sickness, and other mishaps that affect them are caused by witches or human enemies in the spirit world. So when you are talking to them about buy this pesticide, use this drug, it usually does not go well with them because they believe that their problems are caused from some other places, that they are not natural. In fact, they can't understand what climate change means. Another problem she mentioned was poverty. She said that poverty makes the people to disregard sound information from experts in preference to misinformation from traditional medicine men. And of course, it is not, I don't think it is a surprise because there is a way poverty reinforces things. Poverty do not allow people to think straight. Then another problem she mentioned was lack of interest on the part of public librarians to visit local farmers regularly. And this was caused by lack of support from government and the other agencies. She said that government do not support them. The local government area where they work do not support them. So if you're going into villages or communities to talk about climate change information, you are going on your own. You are financing yourself, and the librarians are not finding it easy. Then she said there are no demonstration farms because they are not supported by the government, by NGOs, or by other agencies that are supposed to help them. They would have prepared demonstration farms with which to teach farmers that improved crops because of climate change can do better for them. But these things are not there, and it is affecting farmers' understanding of the climate change information. So we asked another question. What methods do you think that can be used to solve these problems? So the librarian said that if support should come in terms of finance to cover the cost of transportation and adaptation of materials for librarians in public libraries charged with climate change information to rural communities, if little finance will be made available to convert materials in book form into some other forms so that people, rural communities can understand them better. Then adult literacy programs. He said that if there should be local adult literacy programs where people can learn to read, write, and reason properly, because illiteracy, ignorance fuels superstition. If people can read the labels on the drugs they take, the labels on the farm crops they buy, and the rest of them, it will go a long way in helping them. Then improved crops and fertilizers should be made available to rural farmers free to help to boost their crops yield and their income. Then the final one is that there is a need for librarians to use demonstration farms to teach farmers in rural communities about climate change and improved crops. That is for the public librarian. Then the library for the blind. We also interviewed the librarian in the library for the blind at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Mrs. Ezine Njoko, on how climate change affects people with disability impairment. So her responses showed that unpredicted rainfall met these students on the way always, and wear their clothes, wear their books, and at times spoil their computers. Again, many of these students, according to her, fall into ditches when it is raining, because the flood will be everywhere, and they are not seeing, they miss their roads and they fall into floods. Then another thing is that if it is not raining, students with disabilities can easily get help of people taking them back to their hostels or to the classroom. But when it is raining, everybody will run in helter-skelter for safety and to run out of rain, and there will be nobody to help them. The same thing happens when the sun is too hot. So you find out that when it rains, students with disabilities are in problem. When the sun is too hot, they are also in problem because they cannot get help. She also said that heavy sunshine meets the students on the way as they wait for people to help them to cross the roads. That is the effects of climate change on people with disabilities. Then we ask, how do you make climate change information available to students with disabilities, especially students with visual impairment? We previously saw the library shelf. It was full of books, physical books, which somebody that cannot see cannot read. So how can that person get information on climate change out of those books? Let us see what the response of the librarian at the Special Needs Library, University of Nigeria, said about it. So she said that they set apart a computer in the library into which they download and scan information on climate change as it affects students with disabilities. They named the computer where they put on all this information, library in a bus. And this computer has screen reader, which means when the students open them, they will hear the screen reader read out the information to them. Then she said that 3 times in a year, they organize sensitization programs on topical issues in the world that affect students, especially students with disabilities. And the climate change issue is part of these programs. Then she said that every new information they got about climate change, they pass it to the students through their student association. And they also encourage the students to listen to weather reports from radios before setting out for school every morning. Then we ask, what are the problems of disseminating climate change information to students with disabilities, especially students with visual impairments? The first thing she said was that the library in a bus, that is that computer in which they download the information on climate change for people, for students with visual impairment to use. It's just one single computer. And there are about 98 students with visual impairment in the University of Nigeria. And because of the number of students and the one single computer, that you find out that students take turn, and at times it wastes students' time trying to get the information, which may result that most times many of them will leave frustrated. They will not get the required information before leaving. Then many of the students do not have ICT skill that is required to operate the library in a bus or to search the internet to get information. Then many are poor. They cannot afford to buy radio to listen to the weather forecast before coming out. This means that the students coming out without listening to the weather forecast, without listening to the weather report, might be beaten up on the way by rain. Then many of the students with visual impairment, they do not attend library programs because of the problem of going back to the hostel at the end. She said that many a times people will bring in the students into the library, drop them there and leave. At the end, there will be nobody to take them home, that she has to start carrying them back to the hostel herself. So finally, we asked for the methods of solving the problem of access to climate change information for students with disabilities. And she gave us just 3 responses. The first one is that a small radio should be provided for every student with visual impairment. When I say visual impairment, please, I mean students that are having the problem of sight, so that they can listen to weather forecasts every morning before coming into the school. Then at least 2 more computers should be provided for the special needs library, that is library for the blind, to create more library in a bus. This will help to reduce the time the students have to wait for to access climate change information. Then there is need for transportation to and fro from the library for students with disabilities. This will enable them to visit the library regularly to access climate change information and other information that will help them to become effective citizens. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present. I'm very grateful.
Thank you so much, Dr. Osadebe Ngozi, for that amazing presentation. It's so informative and it's really brilliant. So I just have 3 queries. I would want to get a few clarifications from the project that you shared with us. So for starters, I want to ask if you do have statistics or proof on gender inclusion during your project, like how many boys and girls did you have during the program? That's one. And then number 2, I would like you to share your SDG focus. Kindly just list down and share with us the SDGs that you focused on during your project implementation. And then from what I've heard, this whole with this whole program, your first project had 27 participants or lives involved and impacted. And then from your second project, kindly do like add up the statistics and share with us as well. And also break down for us the gender inclusion, how many girls participated, how many boys. If possible, if you have an age group, like age groups for all the participants, would appreciate that information as well. Is that okay, ma'am?
Okay, yeah. Okay, during the focus group discussion, we had 7 boys and 20 girls.
Okay, all right.
During yes, all the interviewees were women.
Ooh.
The 3 interviews, yes, they were all women. And our project focused on SDG 1, 2, and 13, end poverty, end hunger, climate action.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah. So in total, your project had 29 lives directly involved and impacted. Is that okay?
No, if you include me, 31.
Okay,
27
right.
children, 3 librarians, plus myself, 31. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing your project. It's really inspiring, and we hope to have you share the presentation with us that I forwarded to the rest of the panel that is going to go through your presentation. Otherwise, thank you for this amazing presentation. And I would like to move on to the next presenter, who is Dr. Chiemeze Atama from Nigeria as well. Hello.
Sorry, media. I didn't know I was on mute. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Osadebe, for that wonderful presentation. Yeah, I think I should share my screen. Please, media, my screen, you disabled me. I can't share my screen.
Let me work on that immediately. I will make you a host. I'll make you a host. Please.
Okay. Okay.
You can now share your screen, Dr. Atama.
Okay. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, you can see it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for this evening, allowing us the opportunity to share the work we did. Sorry. Sorry, media, I'm trying to minimize.
It's okay.
So that I can see the screen. Are you seeing the screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, so I am doing this presentation on behalf of Equity Watch Initiative, which I think some of us are familiar with. It's a non-governmental organization that is conceived as a women-led organization committed to promoting gender equality and empowering women and girls. In that, we try to promote gender equality and, of course, work around some few sustainable development goals, including climate change. And our vision is a gender equitable world where men, women, boys, and girls work in partnership for a better future. We have so many other objectives that are not specific to climate change, but climate change is one of our major focus area. And in working around climate change, what we do basically is to try to connect gender and climate change. In doing that specifically, we are interested in exploring, examining the experiences of women and girls, especially with respect to climate change. So as we may know, or we may not know, because it's not everybody that is expert in gender and climate change, but evidence, research has shown that women and girls experience the greatest impact of climate change. And these experiences tend to deepen the existing inequalities that already exist. And, makes women and girls to face a unique threat in their lives, in their livelihoods, in their health and other spaces. And so at Equity Watch Initiative, we are taking proactive actions to ensure that these unique experiences of women and girls are brought, to table. People should look at it critically, and also working to ensure that women's voices are heard, especially with regard to climate change. So when we talk about climate change and say that it has a greater impact on women, we are saying that because, as we may know, climate change has a greater impact on those sections of this population that, one, are most reliant on natural resources for their livelihood. And as we may know, majority of the women live in rural communities where their major source of livelihood is usually natural resources. And again, climate change tends to be have greater impact on that population that have the least capacity to respond to natural hazards. And when we talk about people that have the least capacity to respond, of course, we are talking about women. Again, we talk about people that face the higher risk and greater burden in situations of poverty. Again, that population majority is also made of women. So we know that women are disproportionately affected by climate change. However, we also appreciate the fact that they play a critical role in climate change adaptation and mitigation. And that is why we are intentional in Equity Watch Initiative. We are engaging both men and women, but we are intentional, very intentional in engaging women and girls, because this group, especially in our own context, have been left behind for a very long time, especially with respect to climate change. So we are intentionally making efforts to ensure that women and girls are carried along in this development process, in all the development processes, especially in climate change adaptation and mitigation. So at WIN, we engage women and girls in sustainable practices that will not only contribute to climate change adaptation and mitigation, but our target is also to reduce gender-based violence because of the realization, which has been proved so far, that climate change is the driver of gender-based violence. So we work to reduce gender-based violence, leveraging climate actions. And in that, we try to promote not only gender justice, but also climate justice. So our participation in top activity came in several phases. We had 4 activities. One was cleanup exercise. The second one was climate education. The third one was our EWIN Path for Sustainability project. And the fourth one was our Eco Farm. In this particular presentation, I'm going to focus on 3: cleanup, climate education, and our PATH project. We have one of our members who is leading in our Eco Farm, who, of course, I think she filled the form for the eco farm, and I don't know if she has the presentation today, because she told me she filled it for 27th, but I didn't see her name on the list. So if she's going to make presentation today, then you let me know. Otherwise, maybe the day she's slated to do that, she will take up the Win Eco Farm presentation. I'm focusing on 3 for today. So activity number 1, which was the cleanup, was conceived with the notion that unclean environment endangers the environment, makes women and girls vulnerable to gender-based violence, including sexual harassment, including child marriage, economic violence, and other forms of gender-based violence. So realizing that, we have always made efforts, even before now, to clean up our environment, because of our concern that unclean environments will, of course, create a vulnerable community, vulnerable environment for women and girls. So I remembered in 2020, our first climate activity was geared towards a cleanup, of which we embarked on to celebrate International Women's Day. And in that event, we had more than 150 participants in that cleanup exercise. So we have been doing that for a very long time now, and we deemed it necessary to also do that activity as part of our Pop African Festival activity. So the activity involved mobilization of people that participated, designing of flyer, refreshment for participants, bags that we, collection bags, that is waste paper bags, hand gloves, and music, which we used because we usually do it in form of exercise. People will be jogging and picking the trashes. And our venue for that activity was National Energy Research Center, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And the activity started by 7 a.m. in the morning on 18th of June, 2022. Because universities are on strike right now and our organization is located in the university, most of our volunteers are not around. So we only had 14 volunteers for that particular activity, of which 8 of them were females and 5 were males. So the picture that you can see here is the picture from that activity, the participants and the trashes, some of the trashes that we have collected. And like I already said, we had challenge in the number. Like I said earlier on, the initial cleanup exercise we have been conducting, we usually used to have more number of people. I said the first one we conducted, we had more than 150 people. So strike really affected our activity, as most of our volunteers are not on ground now. So, however, after the cleanup, we did also talk to the students about some of those our volunteers about environment, and majority of them demonstrated more willingness to take more climate actions. They were ready for any activity. They were asking us, what is it that we are going to do next, this and that, and we assured them that we have a whole lot coming up and they should just be open to information as they come. So we were happy. The outcome of the activity was that the whole of the National Research Center was looking amazingly clean, and even the director, had to call us and was thanking and appreciating the activity. So that is one of the activities that we conducted. The second one was climate education. And like we know, climate education for young people, for children, women, and girls, is very, very important because, like I've already said, they are mostly more vulnerable to climate change. And so getting them informed about climate change, about, information and issues around it is very, very important. So young people, particularly girls, need climate education to get them informed. I've said that, and train them to take actions for environmental sustainability. Okay, it is a source of concern for us because while young people in other parts of the world are leading climate actions, majority of the young people in Nsukka, in Nigeria, particularly in Nsukka senatorial zone, which is actually host to the first indigenous university in Nigeria, and they are supposed to be knowledgeable, well-informed about climate change, and they should be leading in climate discourse. But unfortunately, people around here have, lack knowledge of climate change. They don't know much about climate change issues. And it becomes difficult to engage people in an activity that they know little or nothing about. And I'm saying that confidently because I remember during COP27, one of the activities we conducted was to organize this climate education for undergraduate students. And one of the things I did was deliberately asking people, both staff and students, about their knowledge of climate change. And it was not surprising because it's an environment that I also live in, to find out that majority of the people do not actually know about climate change. So because of that, we deemed it necessary to organize climate education awareness campaign for young people as part of this activity. So, and I've already said it, awareness raising is an important component of adaptation processes, to manage climate change and enhance adaptive capacity and also reduce overall vulnerability. So in this particular activity, we engaged JUPEB students. JUPEB is a Joint University Preliminary Education Board on climate education, because right now the entire university in Nigeria are on strike. But these JUPEB students are the only ones on campus now. So we are able to organize them for this climate education. And again, it took place at the National Energy Research Center, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. The time was 10 a.m. And we had 76 participants in that climate education activity, 49 females and 27 males. That is one of the pictures from the event. And our major focus on that particular activity was to sensitize them on climate education and environmental issues, educate participants on the impact of climate change. We also talked to them about the importance of tree planting, and we made a proposal for the establishment of Eco Club, which we invited them also to fill our form to join the club. So that is that for climate education. Our third activity was the Iwin Path for Sustainability project, which is a project that we have started about 2 years ago, leveraging our menstrual hygiene management campaign. We started it initially as a menstrual hygiene campaign, going to secondary schools, communities to educate them on menstrual hygiene campaign. Along the line, our research showed that we needed to also talk about the environmental impact of, menstrual pads, because we are also trying to examine or to look at the environmental footprints of women. How do women contribute to climate change? In what ways do we contribute? In what ways can we help to reduce climate change, to contribute in climate actions? So one of the things we found out was the plastic pad that majority of the people use. And it was also an interesting thing to us, because we realized that many people do not know that plastic pad actually constitutes such huge problem. For instance, an average woman will use around 16,000 or more tapoons or pads in her lifetime. And that is about 7 billion tapoons and pads landing in landfills each year. And there was this study we came across, conducted by the European Commission, that said that discarded menstrual products are the 5th most common plastic waste product found in the ocean. Sanitary pads and tampons consist of up to 90% plastics, the equivalent of 4 plastic bags. And because they are made of polythene and other plastics, they are not biodegradable. So some sources estimate that a single woman will use and discard approximately 11,000 sanitary pads, in her lifetime, while others put the estimate at close to 16,000. So this is a big issue. This is a big issue, and that is why we have tried to incorporate environmental issues in our menstrual hygiene management over the years. So some of the plastic products can take, as well, all of us know, can take up to 600 years to decompose. So if people start throwing away sanitary pads and tampons, it is a huge problem. And realizing that and people taking actions to address that is very, very fundamental to the issue we are all talking about. So one of the biggest reasons that people remain silent about this particular issue, despite knowing that it constitutes a huge problem, is because people are not comfortable talking about menstruation. In many societies, it remains a taboo. People don't want to talk about it. People feel bad talking about it. So that's why people are not even interested in discussing the environmental issues that are associated with menstruation. Okay, it's not something that many people are comfortable discussing openly, in spite of the fact that half the planet experiences menstruation once a month and every month for an average of 4 decades. It is more relevant to think about the impact our periods have on the environment today, because environmental issues, climate change is a burning issue, is already eating us up. So not talking about it is not going to help. And that is why we are calling on people to begin to look at this very critically and also think creatively on how we can address the issue. And for us at Equity Watch Initiative, what we have started doing is we came up with a sustainable alternative, through what we call reusable menstrual cloth pads as an option. They are typically made of organic cotton and are washable and reusable. One thing we want to achieve with this is many people from all the programs we have been organizing in rural communities, we realize that many people do not have access to hygiene menstrual products. Many people, it was shocking for us to hear that people use leave when they are menstruating, because they cannot even get rags to use. So some people use leave. I was in a Pathfinder program in Abuja where other people were also testifying to the fact that people use leave to menstruate. So one of the things we want to achieve with this is to see if we can get more cost-effective and easily available eco-friendly means of managing menstruation. So that's where we'll be reducing the environmental footprint of women, and at the same time, empowering people, because people can also make fortune from that by sewing the cloth pad and also selling it. So those are the things we are exploring for now, the possibility. And we have also looked at how other people in other places are working around that, and it is working for them. Even UNICEF is currently doing a program on creating cloth pads. So it is something that people are working on and is working. And we believe strongly that it will help people a lot, especially in rural communities, to begin to have a dignified menstrual hygiene management that, will reduce discrimination, will reduce harassment, will reduce sexual, because in one of the programs we organized for World Menstrual Hygiene Day, one of our resource persons also explained how people have been leveraging the fact that people cannot access menstrual hygiene products to exploit them, to abuse them, to harass them sexually. In one instance, a particular person got pregnant and was infected with HIV just because she did not have access to menstrual hygiene product, and somebody had to offer her 3 naira to buy it. And on the long run, the person started abusing her consistently to the point that he got her pregnant and also infected her with HIV. So when we talk about the gender dimension of some of the of these issues, we are actually serious and we know what we are talking about. It is a serious issue. So as part of our 2022 Pop African Festival activity, we engaged teenage and adolescent girls on how to make this clothes pad. And it was very, very interesting. Initially, even before the pop activity, we have started doing it in secondary schools, like I was already explaining. You can see some of our programs from secondary schools, and the picture by the left is by the right is actually the one from pop activity. So in that particular activity, we had we had up to 17 people that participated, and all of them were females, because even though we try joining males in the activity, sometimes when we go to communities, for this particular one, we are very intentional, because we are also trying to train people that could join us in going to talk about it in other communities. So we focused only on the girls for this particular activity. So those were the 3 activities that I said I will be talking about for our eco-friendly farm. One of our members, Millicent, will be talking about that, and I'm sure she filled the form for that. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present.
Thank you so much, Dr. Atama, for that wonderful presentation. It was really insightful and great. Yes. And I would like to just ask you a few questions. So for the first program that you had, which is more of about the cleanup exercise, I wanted to find out, do you have a breakdown of what age groups you had involved during the exercise? And also, do you mind sharing with me a summary of the gender inclusion during this program? And then we could first start with that. And also the for the general presentation that you've had for the cleanup, the education on females, and also the EcoWin pads program, I'm kindly requesting that you share with me your target SDGs and explain how they come in. You don't have to explain them here, but be sure that you are sure of how exactly they come in, and also be sure of what SDGs you're dealing in. So for the first one, I just want you to share with me the age group and the age groups that participated and the gender inclusion statistics.
Okay. For the cleanup, I've already indicated it there. We had 8 females and 6 males. Their age, I think we range from 18 to maybe 40, 45, because we had 2 married men that participated in the activity. Then the rest were students. So that's why I'm thinking that they should be between age 18 to maybe 40, 45. I didn't actually ask them their age, but I know that 2 of them were married men, while the rest were students. Then for the SDG, I don't know if we include the one that has not been presented, which will still be presented. We worked on goal 1, which is end poverty, end hunger. Then goal 5, yes, goal 5, gender equality. Then also healthy lives and to promote well-being, because when you are working on environment, getting the environment, people menstruating in a hygiene manner, of course, it has a lot to do with health, which is goal 3. Okay, So then the last is goal 13, climate action. So those are our major focus areas.
Okay, and then for your climate education program, do you mind giving me a breakdown of the different stakeholders involved? That's when I clearly got the gender inclusion breakdown. You had 49 females and 27 males. Is that right?
Yes.
And
that
then
is exactly what I said.
Yes. So do you mind? Do you have a stakeholders breakdown on the participation here, like in case you involved any grassroots?
Yes, all of them all the participants were students who are preparing to get admitted into the university. So they are on a special course, still preparing to be admitted as undergraduate students in our university. That's why we call them JUPEP students.
Okay. Do you have, did they register their name for certification or with you?
No, the people that registered their names were the people that participated in our cloth pad training. Because in this particular one, we wanted them to start writing their names, but because of the number, we couldn't coordinate it. So we don't really have the complete attendance, but we took counts even before we started taking the attendance, and they were 76 in number.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Atama. Maybe for the last presentation that you made on the e-win pads, do you mind sharing with me the target group as well? Were you focusing on students in school, or were you focusing on youth in villages? What was your have you had a specific target group on this program?
Yes, our target is actually youth in the village, but for this particular training, it was like training the trainers, training the people that we mobilized to go with us to the communities to begin to train others. So for this training, we focused on volunteers who are undergraduate students and who are ready to work with us in the project.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your amazing presentation, Dr. Tama. It was really great. So I would like to yield the floor to Alimany James from Sierra Leone.
Thank you.
Do you mind me helping you share my screen, your screen? Alimany.
Yeah, hello. Hello.
Do you mind that I help you share the screen?
Yeah, help me share the screen because my laptop is giving me problems.
No problem. Let me work at it now. Let me. Wait, I'm going to share it immediately.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see it. You can start with the first page. Okay. Um, Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Alimany James
evening.
Bangura from Sierra Leone. Yeah, the founder and CEO of Save the Poor and the Needy Organization Sierra
You're
Leone.
welcome.
Okay, thank you. My main focus and the aim of my organization is to empower girls, youth, and people with disability. Can we move to the next slide, please?
Yes.
The next slide.
Okay.
The
Wait.
second one.
Sorry.
Yeah, activity one. Okay. The Youth Climate Change Education was held in Methodist Boys High School, Freetown, Western Area Urban District. That school, I use it as my key school in my activities because the school closer to me, and the session was a bit good. We had an interactive session with the pupils, although some of the people that partake on the activities are not school-going people. They were adults, age 24 upwards. Where we talked about so many things affecting people in their environment. We talked about climate change, giving them the know-how, teaching them ways and manners, how to tackle those climate issues. The participants were 100. We have 70 males and 30 females. The outcome, the pupils highlight key climate change issues affecting their communities, and they provide a simple action plan indicating a series of activities they need to undertake as a community in order to prevent their communities. The next slide. Activity 2 was on the 19th and the 22nd of June, the tree planting. We did it also at the same school, Methodist Boys High School campus. Time, 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. Participants also were 100, 70 males, 30 females. Number of tree planted, 60. The outcome, the people design a master afforestation work plan to be done in their respective communities. The next slide. The in schools, because some of the schools lack trees and other things. And certified, the country is now focusing on serious deforestation without afforestation. The weather, day-to-day weather of raining that we were expecting before has changed due to the continuous cutting down of the trees in the forest. So I decided to embark on this to create awareness about the dangerous things that will happen in the next 5-10 years if we did not continue an afforestation session. So the mayor gave me the support and other things needed to be done. These are trees that I grew by myself. I have more than 250 trees also left that are not yet be planted. This is something that I'm going to do nationwide because my key focus area is on the urban areas where they are exploiting timbers more and more. So as you can see, so these are some of the trees that I'm planting. Yes, down the last slide, vote of thanks. I designed this vote of thanks. A big thank you to all those who support my idea. May God bless you and continue to provide for you all. Save the Poor, at Save the Poor and the Needy organization, the mayor of Freetown. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alimany, for your brilliant presentation. It was brief but really insightful. So I just wanted to ask you if you mind sharing with us like your target SDGs during your project implementation. What SDGs were you targeting? And also, you carried out a climate education / advocacy program. If you mind sharing with me the stakeholders involved and everyone else here, the stakeholders involved, and also you already shared with us the breakdown on the gender inclusion, would appreciate that. So, apologies.
Yeah, I'm working on 2 goals. Climate change is 1. The another one, zero hunger and zero poverty. Those are the 3 goals that I'm working on.
Okay, so Alimany, I'm kindly requesting that if possible, you go and review this presentation that you've given unto us, as well as the list of the SDGs that are available, and then you start compare, because with the SDGs that you've given to me, I feel like there are more SDGs that you've left out, and I think
more.
you just need
there
to
are more.
Down. Yes, you need to
I'm
sit
going
down,
to
check out on the details of the project that you've had, and then share with us. Like you can either text me or reach out on the platform and share with us what projects what SDGs your projects were targeting in detail.
Okay, the main target was climate change. The main target.
Okay.
Climate change.
Thank you so much. But you just share with me the SDGs like later on at your convenience. Is that okay?
Yeah, I will do that. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. And also, do you mind sharing with us the breakdown of the stakeholders involved during the climate education program? Were they students? Were they a group of youth in a certain village who are not attending school? Or were they a group of grassroots leaders in your community, local leaders in your community?
They were mixed. I was having school-going people and lecturers, teachers, and even higher people like the mayor of the city, even the minister of local government was part of it.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for your presentation. So it's quite sad that Kenny Gabriel can't make it for a presentation today, as well as Vayanga Donzo, both because of network issues, and Vayanga Donzo is in Kenya attending some other program. But I'm pretty sure they'll be able to present either tomorrow or before the closing ceremony on 29th. Otherwise, it was really nice having each and every one of you. Unless Samuel has something to say. Samuel, do you have anything to say?
So thank you everyone for that awesome presentation. And then I was actually listening closely, and I would like to encourage us, like the work should not just stop here, but it should even go beyond. It's more like a stepping ground for us to amplify our work and project Africa as a continent that is actually leading the space in terms of climate action and projecting solutions as well that could tackle climate change issues. So thank you for those that couldn't present today. I know if any of us know any of them, we can actually reach out to them and let's see how we can be able to schedule them in for the next section in terms of their presentation. For now, thank you, Meda, as well for that wonderful coordination, and for everyone that has presented your presentations were really awesome, and then congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samuel, for that, for those nice remarks. And I would just like to drop a brief reminder to each and every one of us who presented today. Do not forget to share your presentation with me such that I'm able to share it with the rest of the team. Please do not forget. And also, if you did not break down what SDGs you were handling during your project, I'm kindly requesting that while you are sharing with me your presentation, you let me know what SDGs you were specializing in. Yes, please, ma'am. Dr. Ngozi, I'm seeing your hand.
Yeah, okay, please. Can we have your email to share with you?
Okay, I'll drop it right away on the group chat. And then for those who want to share directly on WhatsApp, you can share it.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your amazing project, and please do not slip off until we put a nail on the box. We look forward to meeting each and every one of you on 29th for the closing ceremony. And I'll be sure to drop the link in the evening.
Thank you.
Is that okay? Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you.
Bye.
Thank you, Mida.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tama.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.